Hold on, everyone. We just got confirmation that could change everything for XRP and SWIFT, the backbone of global banking. They basically opened the door and said, and I'm quoting this one, if banks want to use digital assets like XRP, we will support them. And that's not all. Rex Osprey, you see it on the screen right here. They just filed for an XRP ETF with the SEC. You heard that right. XRP could be on its way to the same institutional spotlight that sent Bitcoin to new all-time highs before halving. But here's what we're diving into today, and this is big. XRP ETF filing, the bombshell from SWIFT that proves they're ready to let banks plug in assets like XRP instead of competing. And how this all ties back into Ripple's swell event featuring giants like Citibank, BNY Mellon, Fidelity, NASDAQ, BlackRock, and the CME Group. This isn't speculation. Oh no. This is confirmation, everyone. And once you see what's happening, you're going to understand why XRP setup, well, it's bigger than ever before. Let's start with the headlines though, because this got everyone buzzing. Rex Osprey, they officially filed for approval of an XRP ETF with the SEC. Now, I want you to think about for a second what this means. ETFs were the spark that sent Bitcoin into the stratosphere earlier this year. They turned hidden demand into visible demand, regulated institutional volume. And now we are seeing that exact same domino, well, it's falling for XRP. This isn't about retail anymore. This is about institutional demand. And ETF means pension funds, hedge funds, sovereign wealth funds. They can all get exposure to XRP without worrying about custody, compliance, or regulations. And here's the key. Once that door cracks open, well, it doesn't just stay open. It gets blown wide open. First comes the filing, next comes the approval, then comes billions of dollars in demand flooding into XRP. But as bullish as this ETF filing is, it's only half the story. Because what SWIFT just said, in plain language, it could accelerate adoption in a way that ETFs alone never could. There you go. We got it pulled up right here. Let's dig into this SWIFT bombshell. And this is hot off the press because this is where things start to get really exciting. This document that you see on your screen right here, it makes it crystal clear. SWIFT will no longer be generating its own digital asset or cryptocurrencies. That means, hey, you're not going to get a SWIFT coin. I know. We were lining up at the doors to buy the SWIFT coin. Not anymore. No internal competitor to XRP. Instead, they're saying, and I quote, if banks want to go down that route, we're going to be able to support them. Let that sink in for a second. That is a massive statement. SWIFT isn't trying to compete in the crypto space. Everyone thought for the longest time SWIFT was going to compete. This was going to be XRP and Ripple's biggest competitor, and they just came out and they said, we're not going to compete. They're building the rails to support it, and if you're a bank and you are looking for a ready-made digital asset with global liquidity, regulatory clarity, and settlement speed, well, hey, XRP checks every single box. Here's the real significance of this though. SWIFT processes over $5 trillion a day. $5 trillion a day in cross-border payments. They touch more than 11,000 banks worldwide. If their position is will support, not compete, that's basically here a green light for banks to adopt third-party digital assets like XRP without worrying about conflict with the very system that they rely on. This also validates Ripple's strategy from day one. While other projects were chasing hype, Ripple was building partnerships with the exact same institutions that SWIFT serves. You understand all this? You understand how big this is? And now SWIFT, they're essentially saying, hey, you know what? If our members want XRP, we're not going to stand in the way. In fact, we'll support it. And let's be real here. What other asset fits in? What other asset can be used by banks that has regulatory clarity, the speed, the TPSs, and I mean, it's practically free XRP. We know it's not Bitcoin. Come on, let's be honest here. It's too slow. It's too volatile. It's not Ethereum. It's unpredictable with its fees. We don't know if it's going to cost $5 to $350. It has no native settlement focus. XRP was literally designed to solve this exact problem that Swift handles every single day. Fast, efficient, cross-border value transfer. Now, this changes the narrative in a massive way, because instead of banks saying, can we even use XRP with Swift? The question now becomes, why aren't we already using XRP? Why aren't we using XRP with Swift today? What are we doing? Why are we holding all this money in these Vostro accounts? It doesn't make sense. And the groundwork, the legwork, all the hard work, it is already done. Now let's think about supply shock for a second. If even a fraction of Swift's banking network starts routing payments through XRP, we're talking millions of transactions, consuming billions in liquidity. That's XRP being pulled off the market, locked up in settlement corridors, and reducing circulating supply. And while all this is happening, guess what? The demand skyrockets. This is why ETF news pairs perfectly with this Swift news. Institutions don't want to touch an asset that's fighting against the banking system, but the second the banking system signals that they're going to support it, oh, folks, that's when they move in. And when they move in, they're going to move in fast. This isn't going to be a slow trickle. They're going to come storming in. And Swift, well, they just gave the green light. Let's connect this all though. This is where it gets very interesting, because Ripple's upcoming swell event, 2 months from now, in November. Look at the speakers we have lined up. We got Citi, BNY Mellon, NASDAQ, Fidelity, BlackRock, CME Group. The list goes on and on and on. They see Swift here opening the doors instead of competing. They see ETFs in the pipeline, and they know XRP is the only asset that is positioned to sit at the intersection of both banking and markets. So when Citi or Fidelity decide that, hey, we want to test XRP for settlement, that's not a small trial. That's hundreds of billions of dollars in transaction flows. And when NASDAQ or BlackRock, when they validate XRP through products or liquidity pools, that credible factor for Wall Street, it's complete. It's game over at that point. This is exactly how major adoption waves start. Infrastructure confirming support, regulators cracking the door wide open, and institutions lining up to participate. Hence Ripple swell right here. So let's recap what we just covered here, okay? First, we get Rex Osprey filing for an XRP ETF, the same catalyst that sent Bitcoin to a new era of institutional adoption. Number 2, we have Swift, the global payments backbone. Just confirm, compete with digital assets. They're not going to create their own cryptocurrency. They don't want nothing to do with that. But instead, they will support banks that want to use assets like XRP. That's a green light from the very top of global finance. And third, well, Ripple swell event in 2 months. They're bringing together the biggest names in Wall Street. Citibank, BNY Mellon, Fidelity, NASDAQ, BlackRock, the CME Group. The exact institutions who can flip the switch from theory to reality. This isn't hype, everyone. This is the biggest alignment XRP has ever had with both Wall Street and global banking. The supply shock, it's real. It's coming. And the question is, will you be positioned before the crowd catches on? If you found value in this breakdown, smash that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe, because guess what? We're just getting started. What is happening with XRP right now? It's historic, and you don't want to miss out on that next move.